Jimo Foloronsho Ibrahim, representing Ondo South. I'm in alignment with the burial submission in respect of this bill, this motion. But let me just make a short comment. We need to engage knowledge at this time to understand the strategy of the terrorists. We must come to terms to understand the strategy of the terrorists and their praxis. And I think, Mr. Senate President, there might be need for us to have a closed session because it's a security matter. So distillment of fundamental information that are very secret cannot be said here openly. We need to understand the tactics and the praxis of the terrorists. And we must now engage the executive about counterterrorism, because the argument is that most of the launch counterterrorism approach are not sufficient enough to actually engage the terrorists. The summary of my submission is that unless we can place in proper perspective the strategy of the terrorists, it will be difficult, Mr. Senate President, unless we engage knowledge and know the strategy of the terrorists. It will be difficult for us to actually suggest what counter-terrorism strategy that you engage to get this thing out of us. It's not a sympathy matter. The moment the United States Senate knows that we are doing this engagement, then obviously speaking, they cannot pass anything over there. The key thing, the summary of my submission is that we must engage knowledge, one, to understand the strategy of the terrorists. If we get that one documented and we know it very well, we must now know what counter-terrorism are we going to use before we go to dissemination of information and political propagandas and all the rest. Life is priceless, Mr. Senate President. And I must thank you again for approving security summits in this Senate, being headed by Senator Okoyemi also. And I think this is very important. But before I take my seat, I must say clearly, it is not all the matters that we know of that we can discuss here. We must go into executive session to particularly to define and redefine our counter-terrorism. I'm just back from the United Nations Counter-Terrorism Conference, and I was able to persuade the participants there from about 180 countries that our counter-terrorism approach adopted by Mr. President in respect of Rivers State was the best to do, because we cannot allow Nigeria, to be a battleground for intervention engagement arising from insufficient security from outsider. And they agree with me, but they were able to get the information that the executive counter-terrorism was not lawless. And I challenge them. Mention one person that was killed in Rivers State within the 6 months of state of emergency. That means our counter-terrorism works very well there. In this matter, on this motion, Mr. Senate President, there is need to engage knowledge. Let's refer back to executive session at appropriate time to discuss and evaluate terrorist strategy. Then we will be able to define counter-terrorism strategy that we will adopt to make. It's not a matter of Christian or Muslim or whatever. Once we do this, we have a better way to go. Thank you very much for this short snap. Thank you.
Well, that is coming.